Welcome to a brand new season of Her Sports Energia AIL show. I am your host, Maeve Óg O'Leary, and this week we are joined by the fabulous Anna Caplice. We're going to be taking a look back at the summer of sport, where we had the World Cup and of course the Interpros. We'll also be reviewing round 1 and 2 of the Energia AIL, and we'll also be looking at the Junior Cup from the Energia AIL. We'll also be looking ahead to round 3, which is falling this weekend, as well as catching up from some of the players from the launch and down to Ennis with Aoibhinn Hassey. Anna, it is great to have you. Where are you coming from today?
Oh, well, I've come from the very beautiful Mallow, County Cork.
On Cork.
Yes, and yeah, I'm actually going back to La Rochelle tomorrow for a week.
Lovely.
And I'm actually going coaching in Southeast Asia, in Laos, for the rest of the winter. So,
fabulous.
yeah, so lots of exciting things.
Lucky to have you.
Yeah, lots of exciting things coming up. But this is the most exciting thing on my list.
Of course.
Yes.
The Women's AIL.
Yes, and chatting to you, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great to catch up. Quick background on my first experience meeting you.
Yeah.
I was in a Munster shirt.
Right.
And I think I'd just gotten my first cap with Munster, and I think it was yourself and Chloe and Derv came back down from Ireland camp and you came in. I just remember the injection of energy you gave to the squad was unreal.
Yeah, that was such a great Interpros, and we had been, obviously
won.
Yeah, and I'd been involved with Ireland, and obviously wasn't selected, so like that's always the kind of the difficult thing, because you don't get to train the whole way through at Munster, but you have been in with Ireland, and if you're released then you come back in, so it's often hard to navigate. But that was such a brilliant year, and I heard about you, I was like, oh no, there's this like back row coming for my jersey, like in Ireland and everything. And you absolutely were, like, you were such a great, like, you were so great to play with. We had some crack in those.
We did.
That Munster, those Interpros as well. What year was that?
2021.
2021.
Yeah.
And because you got your first Irish cap the same year, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember against the USA, stayed in the Talbot.
Yes.
Where we'd come into camp on a Friday after work and go for it. I remember it well. I remember before my first cap, I think I headbutted Aoife Mac and had a big, massive nose. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. You know what? That was my first time playing in the RDS as well, and we had a great November series. That was a win against USA and a win against Japan. And it was obviously the last game of Lindsay Peat and the last game of Junior Ciara Griffin. So
yeah, what a time.
That was an amazing time, and it was like the start of your journey and the end of others. It was amazing.
And sure, what I suppose now look how far it's all come.
Yeah.
And the World Cup this year and all that with the Irish squad is
I
class.
know, so much going on.
Yeah.
It's so great. It's such a great place to be.
Absolutely.
Hi, my name is Aoife from Ballincollig, and you are watching the Her Sport Energia AIL show, sponsored by Energia. Think of the possibilities.
So look, I suppose before we jump into everything around the AIL, we can't leave behind the summer of rugby we've just had and the Women's World Cup. There was everything from record-breaking crowds to some incredible wins, and you were in the thick of it, you were over there, you were a part of it. Can you just tell us a little bit about how it was to experience the atmosphere over there?
It was so epic. Like, I don't think I could have imagined how great it was, and I think most people were the same. I actually spent most of it crying because it was so moving, and I'm not even exaggerating, and so many people were like that, just to see it in the flesh. And like all the old girls, like there's a lot of girls who have put in so much. When we're talking about English rugby now, for example, who have just been contributing so much for so long, breaking down so many doors, fighting so many like barriers all the time, and like to achieve what they did was just full credit to those girls. Also all of the other like contributing nations, like, oh my god, Brazil,
I know,
South Africa, Samoa,
and their media, their press conferences were unreal. They pulled in the world, like.
Absolutely, but like the media, and we will get to Ireland obviously in a second, but like those little moments, the media coverage, and like the TikToks, and that is like hand in hand with women's rugby, like the way to go here, you know.
It is, and it's so unique.
It's so
to women's
unique.
Rugby. And
absolutely.
I think it was lovely to see some bigger brands jumping on board too with it. So effective, like that is where it is in women's sport.
Absolutely, and like my role, I was really lucky to work with BBC as a co-commentator.
Unreal.
And they were so like, just go for it, guys. Like, this is your field here, this is women's rugby, you are the owners of it, and you write your own story. And I feel like that was the case with a lot of the sponsors, a lot of the teams, a lot of the production, and it was so epic. Oh my god, the final.
Insane.
Oh my god, so obviously it's 80 81,000 people, 885. 81,885.
Don't forget it. Don't forget it.
Okay, so highest attended women's rugby game I've ever seen.
Incredible.
And there's a really lovely moment with Ruahi Demant, who's the co-captain, one of the co-captains of the Black Ferns, and they were playing in the third place playoff at 12:30, and then the final, England and Canada, was on at 4 p.m. And I was also staying like not far from there, and we got in our car at like 10:30, thinking that there'd be no traffic and we'd get there.
Yeah.
And like me and my London housemate, we were sat there like sitting in traffic, like
we're gonna be late.
Like usually you'd be like, oh, the traffic, but we were like,
oh.
It was such a moment, like, and Ruai spoke about it. She was like, we arrived and we weren't expecting the crowds to be there. They had addressed that it's going to be a great day, but the crowds might just be arriving while we're playing. No way.
Yeah.
Everyone was in their seat, or most people, and a lot of people were still on the way in.
And I heard they were late into the dressing room.
They were late into the dressing room. They didn't account for it. Even they themselves didn't believe it. So like, it was. I think
from them hosting it in 21. And seeing the increase in crowds, I'd say they just weren't expecting it, but like, unbelievable. And I think I was in Brighton as well. I know you were over there, saw you down the pitch. But getting to the stadium there as well was nearly like a nightmare, but in the best way.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't believe it. The atmosphere surrounding before the match, I haven't seen anything like it. Even post-match, people were staying in the stadium, chatting to the players. It must have been an hour before people were clearing out.
Absolutely.
The interaction between the players and the fans, it's something very unique about women's rugby. You're so personable.
But that's the thing, that's always been the thing about women's rugby. Like even when we used to be playing in in Energia Park, and there's only like 1,000 people there, and you kind of get to talk to everybody, and most people there, and there'd be like families and friends, and a lot of people. To somehow still have kept that magic in a stadium of 81,000 people, that is women's rugby. Like that is, and may we never lose that from women's rugby. Like we've got to keep that forever, because we've seen it, like that element of like personable and like interesting, and the connection in the small stadiums, and now that it exists in the big stadiums as well, like this is just the way it's got to go for us.
Absolutely. And I think to come away from the off pitch stuff and go on to the on pitch stuff, the final, like England and Canada, how insane. What way did you think it was going to swing? Obviously Canada scoring first.
I was worried for England because they hadn't performed well. They certainly saved their best performance for the final. Canada had been showing elements of it, like leading into it. Canada in the semi-final was probably definitely one of the best all-around team performances I've ever seen ever. They were incredible. And I was worried for England that they mightn't pull it out of the bag, and that this was, that their old demons would come back to them again, because like there was so much, the whole the Barbie collaboration. Ellie Kildon was releasing boots. There was this 33 games in a row, unbeaten, and it's like, oh my God, this could all come crashing down. I was so nervous.
There was a bit of chat about the 2021 World Cup final too, which 100%. I know was more so referenced after, but like there is that fear.
Oh, absolutely.
Chasing you always, like.
Absolutely. And like I was worried for England that they had just got into their own heads, but like fair play to them. I feel like though, especially after 2021 and 2017 when New Zealand won the final here in Belfast, I just feel like we can all get on with our lives now that England have won the World Cup. It's like, okay, right, that's done. Now let's all go together. And like Canada are great proof that, we're not all as far away as we think. And Canada are an outstanding team. They have an outstanding bunch of players. I think maybe if you're on the outside of the women's rugby circle, you might be like, what are Canada doing in a World Cup final? But understanding the women's game understands that there's a lot of investment in women's rugby at university level in Canada.
Yes, there is,
That builds them up. A lot of them are playing in the Premiership in England, which is an interesting element of it as well. But like, how close were Ireland to beating France, and how close do France come to beating England every single year? So like, we're not as far away as we think. England have won it now. I think we can all just like start at ground zero, and Ireland are going to win the next World Cup.
Yeah, well, on Australia. Oh my God, here we go.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's important there to touch on as well Canada. Like they're the epitome of heart, determination. Like they obviously had their kind of GoFundMe page that would have raised, I think their goal was $1 million. And just to look at the investment there, like it's time for all, I suppose, the unions and nations to kind of step up there.
Yeah, and the sponsors, absolutely. And it shows that the interest is there.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And what you can do with it, I think that's maybe an element that's kind of particular to the women's game as well, where you feel like really responsible for upholding the quality of the game, and then like honouring like the people that are investing, and Canada are so interesting because they don't have the big stadiums like the men's games that are filling out in the Aviva or Twickenham or Stade de France or wherever. They don't have that, so they've got to be more like creative about how they're going to like make their game work, and it's really interesting to see how far they were able to go. So it's
exciting.
Yeah, it is so exciting for the future of the game.
Can't wait to see it, and can't wait to see the upcoming Six Nations. I suppose that's the next kind of international chapter for the Irish girls anyway. But just to hop back to their World Cup campaign, obviously it was very special, and I'm sure so emotional for you to see. First time in that World Cup since 2017. But I think obviously gutting the way they went out against France, but as a whole, like the green wave, the momentum, what they've built in this country, like I think that was the thing I kept reiterating. I was like, what you've built back home is like incredibly special. But I suppose as a former player, like how did it feel to kind of look at that?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was so proud, and I think a really nice feeling was that I think the first game was emotional, and there was this like, finally we're back where we belong, and that was kind of celebrated for a moment, and then it was like, okay, back to business here. We are where we are supposed to be. And just some of the performances, like I think back of like Eve Higgins, she was outstanding. Andy Dalton, that like fearsome centre partnership. Like any Six Nations team is going to be like worried and earmarking them straight away when they sit down to do their homework on Ireland. Also the back three, I just want to see the back three get the ball a little bit more. I think that's got to be like built into their structure going forward now. And then the pack, like we saw Linda getting 50 caps. The kind of the switch around between Niamh O'Dowd and Elle Perry, and how that worked, and how Niamh O'Dowd just stepped up to the mark even though she'd been left out of the squad, and just performed out of her skin.
She's incredible.
And then Fiona Chute, being swapped into the back row, and the non-stop battle between all the back rows in the shadow of the injuries that everyone kept talking about in the lead up to the tournament. And it was such unfortunate timing for Dorothy Wall, for Erin King, and of course Aoife Wafer as well. And then just the other back rows like Grace Moore and Tricky and
the return of Sam,
so good. There were so many brilliant elements, and you're right to talk about the French exit as well, but maybe that can be bottled up into something like, we are not letting this happen again. Come so close, and we will win the games that we deserve to win.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the next battle they'll probably look at in the Six Nations, which is unreal. I know, it's so exciting, all the rugby that is going on.
And so before we move on from the Six Nations, the game in the Aviva.
Yes, unreal.
Against Scotland in the final round.
Yes.
Buy your tickets. Wait, hang on. Which camera do we look at? Get your tickets. Get your tickets now. It's going to be a full house. Okay?
Also,
me and Maeve Óg will be there.
Obviously. But also, there's something about the last game of the Six Nations every year that we played Scotland, that the girls have gone out there, and I think that there's this heightened sense of anticipation around it. So it's gonna be on in the Aviva. Get your tickets. Let's really work to get a record-breaking crowd on home soil anyway. But absolutely has to be done.
Has to be done, because this, the work that everything we've just spoken about there in the green wave, that can't just like disappear into thin air now. No. Like we've got to bottle it up, hold it, keep it.
And it's class because I suppose the youth among the squad too is incredible. Like it's not like we're seeing, sometimes after a World Cup you'll see a number of players retire off of squad, and that's not something we're going to see. Hopefully, but it's not, because there's such a young squad there.
Absolutely.
So I can't wait, and I know the girls are on their off season now, but they'll be straight back into work.
Well deserved as well.
Exactly.
Grab your surfboards is how I'm putting it, because the green wave, obviously, surfboards out, everybody.
can't surf, but
Me neither.
you can swim to your boogie board.
Yes.
You can't surf. Perfect. So look, I suppose moving on from the World Cup, which has been so momentous, and I think it's probably going to go down. It's going down in history, obviously. But bringing it back then to home soil, what's next in the rugby calendar? What are we looking towards next? And it's falling back to the AIL.
It is, but the little bridge in that gap there before we start talking about the AIL is the Interpros.
I couldn't bring it up. I couldn't bring it up.
Well, we just had to talk, but we have to talk about
No,
it because
100%. It's a huge part. Yeah.
It was fantastic. Well, you tell
Yes.
us about it now, like how...
Yeah, look, it was unreal. I think the Interpros this year were obviously a little bit of a unique year with the World Cup being on, but the opportunity and the doors that it opens for such a huge number of players. Like off the top of my head, Leinster capped 20 new players. I think Munster capped 10. They're numbers that haven't been seen in years probably. And it also just opens up the doors in smaller clubs that are based more around the country rather than, like your big Dublin clubs and stuff. And I think we really felt that in Munster. There was plenty of girls from Ennis coming from West Cork. They were coming up to like provincial squad training with great access to great coaches and to gym and S&C, and to even like obviously 10 of those girls got caps, which was sensational, but even to be able to bring that experience back to their clubs, like
100%.
The grassroots is where it's at. And I think as well, like it was a really competitive competition.
Absolutely.
We loved it. There was some great players playing in it. It's highlighted across the 4 provinces really.
But to on your point about those small clubs, it's so great to see those clubs being rewarded.
100%.
Like some of those, I'm just thinking of Ennis now as one example.
I know,
that you've
they
mentioned.
stand out,
They stand out because I went down to present medals to their under 16 girls years ago. I'm pushing on now, right? This must have been a long time ago that they have been investing the time in their girls section for so long, and there haven't been players from Ennis in a Munster. I never played with a player from Ennis. I don't think so anyway. I hope I don't.
Well, it would have been split at the time because they came together with Kilrush, but
exactly. No, it wasn't. So to see that finally be rewarded is brilliant. But also, I was at the first round above in Energia Park, which was lovely day out. Yeah. And there was a great crowd there, brilliant atmosphere. Yeah. And again, it's just testament to what those clubs are putting in and what's going on in just in women's rugby and the growth of in general, like the quality. Yeah. And especially with those international players who couldn't play because they were, had bigger fish to fry in terms of the World Cup, but that the quality can just be so outstanding in the Interpros.
Oh, completely. And it was very notable. The girls were great. They were texting all of us from England saying we're watching you. Obviously the rivalry in camp is going to be big there, yourself when you've any Interpro derbies that are going on. But it was lovely, and it did feel like there was support behind it, which is so important. And I think that the Interpros just hold a special place in everyone's heart a little bit.
100%.
It's such a rare competition and such a good opportunity. It's how I would have gotten into Munster and in with Ireland, and I think it's the route that a lot of players would have taken. So very important and very important to touch on.
Yeah, well, congrats on your.
Thank you. I'll bring the cup next week.
Yeah. Did you have a little drink out of the cup after?
We did, yeah, of course. Now you know how those Bows girls love to drink. The Bows contingent in the Munster squad. Oh my god!
I'm so proud.
I was mortified. I can't keep up. But no, we did. We went back down to Limerick into the hurlers, obviously, along to the Red Hen.
Yeah.
Then the Jane Classy special on Sunday, which is something we've been doing for 3 years now.
I'm so jealous.
Basically we get boats and jet skis out from Killaloo. We get them out to Gary Kennedy and we do a barbecue. The fines, obviously.
Did you get any fines?
Yeah, what did I get fined for again? Jesus, I'm useless. I can't remember.
Okay, well you did get a fine. That's good.
I did. Oh, did you? Oh my god.
Eilish
Cahill and Ciara McLaughlin on the vines.
No better women.
And Saskia Conway, Morrissey as well from Ennis, so she was on them as well. But no, it was great, and the celebrations were great, and I think that every team took a load of learning from it. But I've definitely noticed the kick-off of the AIL has felt a little bit more gelled and stronger because of it as well.
Amazing.
Which has been brilliant because, look, I suppose every other year you'd have your internationals involved. This year you'd more of the club players, so we've definitely felt the positive benefit of it anyway. Yeah. And I'm sure the other clubs have as well.
Yeah.
Which brings us nicely into the AIL.
Yes.
So we're round 1 and 2 done.
Yeah.
it's been interesting to see how the teams have kicked off.
Yeah.
To tie the bridge from the World Cup and the Interpros into the AIL, there's been a couple of girls who were involved in the World Cup squad and in warm-up squads. So you've like the likes of Maeve Óg, Beth Buttimer, Ivana Kirapati. How important is it for international players to be able to come back to their AIL clubs?
I'm so glad you started with this as well, because like the importance of that, you know, things can be a really, I spoke to Beth and Maeve after the World Cup about like, because that was kind of my role in 2017, is to be in the squad, but you're not really getting a lot of game time or any game time in some players.
So tough.
It's
so
really,
tough.
really tough, really hard to connect with your club again. What that did for me when I was in that position, it saved it. In a lot of ways, I felt like it saved my life, you know, because it reminded me who I was, why I play, the people who love me, the people that I love. It's so important, the connection to your club when you are involved in a national setup. And Munster is in there as well, of course, but your club is just can remind you of all those things, and it's so important. So I was delighted to see. I was doing commentary for the Bowes Railway game. I was delighted to see Beth having a great run around as well.
Unreal.
Yeah.
No, I think you're so right. There's plenty of ups and downs in rugby, but your connection to your club, like it's like a piece of safety, isn't it? You just feel so connected, and sure, that's why the AIL is great.
Absolutely.
Join us after the break as we jump into the new Energia AIL season. Round 1 and 2 are done from the women's AIL. Been a very exciting start to the season. At the moment, we're looking at Galwegians, Ennis and Bowes at the top of the table. Ennis's first ever time playing in the women's AIL. How unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing. Like, welcome girls, like
it's class.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, has to be one of the highlights, I would say, of the AIL so far. But definitely from the first 2 weeks.
Yeah, and they did well as well in their opening rounds. What did it say? It was 29, 26?
Yeah, Tullow in the first round, where I think it was half an hour left, and they scored 15 points in the last half an hour.
Oh, yeah.
They were down, but they came away, and both teams came away with a bonus point. But I think the grit in that to pull it back when you're down like that, it's unreal.
They must have been delighted.
Yeah.
They must have had some night
I'd say
on the bus on the way home.
A night at first, like even to be the player. I think it was one of the American girls who was playing with Ennis this year. She scored the first try, but to even hold that, like everything is a first. It's so special.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for the development of rugby across the country.
Yeah.
There's a huge Munster contingent down there as well. So they've a really great bunch of girls on the squad there. Looking at Galwegians as well, a quick start from them for their first 2 games. That's the way they would have wanted to go. I know their first win was 29-19 over Ballincollig in Ballincollig.
Yeah.
As a Cork woman.
I mean,
how are you feeling?
I mean, I'm not a Ballincollig woman, but that's great for Galwegians. Like just a really strong, like from both first rounds, from rounds 1 and 2 to go win back to back. That's great. That's what you want. Like I know that it's kind of the sides of the teams are kind of split, and it seems like a round robin, and then it's all going to mix up again. But you can't ask for any better.
No,
and you're still only figuring things out. So to get wins in the bag while you're figuring things out is great. Yeah.
Well, this part of the season is so important because it does come down to it at the end. I think it's important to note as well on that Galwegian side, you'd Jemima Adams-Verling. She scored 4 tries. Very dreamy to go down away from home and to score that.
Yeah.
But class start for Galwegians. They've Tullow now this weekend, so
they'll be confident going up to Tullow as well. Yeah, and that's nice because you can, fortify the things that you've worked on, like really nail things down, and then if the game is going your way, start to open up in terms of like, okay, is there anyone that we need to try in a different position, any moves we haven't tried yet, let's do it now. But obviously Tullow aren't going to lay down either, it's their backyard. And
Tullow have been leading both their first games at half time, which they'll take plenty from. And they'll be chomping as well to come out. And then finally you've Bowes sitting in that top 3 as well. So I mean, it's no surprise they're the current AIL champions, and it's the way they would have wanted to have started. Yeah,
100%. But it's also you've got Sarah Quinn in there, their new head coach.
Yeah, so very exciting.
That's great for her.
Very great things out of there as well.
Yeah, and it's great to start winning ways. That I suppose the And this is definitely a Bose thing, and I'm sure you know this from Blackrock as well, but like, you could be winning games, but you're still not happy, you know, because you're still like, oh, that wasn't quite right, but you're still like, kind of like what we were just saying there about Galwegians, like you're still figuring things out, but you're still getting wins. Like, that's really valuable for Bose and for any of the teams who got even one win from these first 2 rounds. Like, that's really valuable. So on it goes.
Yeah, I think we were chatting about it after I'm with Blackrock, but we obviously played Bose in our first game, and you know, we came away obviously with the loss. But I think I was chatting to the girls after, and I was like, it doesn't matter what competition you're going into, even off the back of all of us just playing the Interpros, like, there's always going to be cobwebs, and it's just about, if you can get the win, take the win. But like, there's always work-ons, which is exciting.
Yeah. Do you feel like you resolved like some of that then going into round 2?
Definitely, yes, definitely. Like, we've 2 new coaches this year down in Rock, and we've plenty of new players as well, which is very exciting. But there's always, like, you know, those little bits of cohesion and stuff like that when you haven't played together before. Yeah. But it was great to bring us into round 2. In Belleville, and I think Belleville obviously beat Railway in round 1, which was great for them. They had some of their internationals back, which was brilliant. Derv was playing in the centre, no better woman. And they had, like, you know, the likes of Robin O'Connor, Hannah Clark, that were on the field from kind of the 7s and the under 20s. So it was great to see that, I suppose, international come through as well from the younger side. And then the game against us, they lost a couple of players, but God, it was like a tough battle. I think going over to Belleville anyway and playing against them is never easy, but going up against Fee Hayes' side as well, also never easy.
I know.
But
she's made such a name for herself, hasn't she? Like that, you know, she's to be feared almost, you know, because she demands so much respect and high standards, like, from her team. So I completely understand that. Yeah,
and I know she'll be going into this weekend now looking to go well. We won't go there yet. We will come back to it.
We'll get to it.
But just then to quickly touch on round 2 as well. Sullivan Sexton had a crossfield kick to Clark in the first round. Emma Keane of Ennis, she scored off of a penalty in the very first game to secure Ennis's first win. So she literally just apparently scraped that by the goalpost.
Oh, sorry, she kicked the penalty.
Yeah. So it's so lovely to see the kicking game coming into the AIL. You then Kate Flannery with her crossfield kick to Alana. You had a crossfield kick from Abby Moyles to Andy Murphy in round 2 for Blackrock. Nikki Caughey scored kicked an outrageous 50-22. And they drove in then off a maul, go on the forwards. And then you have Sophie Collins scored from Galwegians off a crossfield kick from Schiefer Hessian. So it's just nice to see all the kicking game coming into it a bit more.
Can I ask, is that something that's new to the women's game?
Like, it wouldn't be new, you just wouldn't have, you wouldn't have maybe had as skilled 10s maybe, or...
So my thing about the kicking game, in the women's game in Ireland, right, I played a season in Australia. Myself and Aoife Mack went down a good few years ago, and the kicking was abysmal, right? It was really, really poor, and me and Aoife were kind of shocked. We were like, oh my goodness. And we asked about it, like, what's the story? They don't play in Australia and in other countries, they just don't have kicking sports or whatever. You know, that was just an Australian thing. But then we were reflecting about Ireland, like, so many of the girls play Gaelic football. Honestly, 1 to 15 could start. Like, I wish there was a penalty shootout with Ireland and anyone else, because I reckon we could win it. Because 100%. So, and it's something that, you know, comes up a lot. Like, what do you take from the men's game? What do you take from your own kind of, you know, the coaches that come in to coach the women's game? Like, kicking is coming into the women's game a lot more and more, and we saw it in the World Cup, and now we're obviously seeing it in the AIL as well. But like, why not? Why 100%. Not? Why aren't we using? Why aren't Irish players using our Gaelic football skills more? Like, even across, like, if we look at the Irish team, you know, who've got an English coach, you know, who maybe doesn't understand about like Gaelic football, and like our last, you know, or at least Griggsy was a coach and I was there, you know, someone else who's not Irish. Like, if we can just harness a bit more of our Gaelic football,
the heritage, like
100%, and the high balls, and like, honestly, I know. Like, if it can come through the AIL, that will strengthen the Irish game at the top as well.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned on there, you touched on it there, but obviously in plenty of clubs there isn't that resource for the kicking coach, but it's in our blood, like.
Yeah.
So we may as well use it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just something I've noticed, like, it's such a, like, even now, obviously, when we're reviewing teams, you know, right, who's the kicking threat there? Right, Nikki's with Railway. You've obviously Kate and Katrina with Bowes. Like, these are the players you're looking out for, and you're like, right, is our backfield managing? And maybe, like, I can't even remember 5 years ago how we would have maybe reviewed the teams, but I definitely feel like it's become something more prominent.
Absolutely, and it's a really good point, because why are you looking at those as the kickers, or why are those girls the kickers? Like, yes, they're good kickers, but it's the position they play. So only the 10s, the 15s, maybe a centre or a 10-15 cover goes with the kicking coach and kicks, and no one else is under the pressure to do it. And then you turn around and you look at Sophie de Goody.
I know, I was going to say Hannah O'Connor. Loves a good boot as well.
Absolutely, but like, you know, I feel like in rugby there's, you know, and it's one of the things that I adore about rugby is the different profiles of the positions and the different strengths that are celebrated, like, you know, all the different shapes and sizes. But when it comes to kicking, not everybody is invited to practice that skill. Leah Lyons used to be an unbelievable kicker.
Yeah,
like, absolutely.
Baller.
So like, but she was, I mean, she used to kick for club. I'm not sure if she ever kicked for Munster, but she was, but it fell away from her skill set because the front row has to be practicing, you know, scrums. But actually, is this something that we could build way more into specifically the Irish game? Yeah. Everyone just rocking up and to kicking sessions. Why not? Like, it'd be great
like,
crack.
what is going on? Especially if they're not Irish, they'd be like, oh,
we don't know our line-out calls, but we can all kick.
Remember the number on your back, I swear to God.
No, I don't like that. No, forget the numbers.
I'm only joking.
I mean,
if I had the ability, I'd be kicking, but oh my God.
But you could though. Did you play Gaelic football?
No, I'm from North Tip, like, there's only Camogie. Okay. Down our neck of the woods.
Right, we'll figure out another skill for you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm very basic. Just nail the basics, you know yourself. Won't do any funny handoffs or anything, or offloads or anything like that.
Oh no, none of that.
Couldn't be doing that.
None of that. Chloe Pierce, carry on.
Oh my God, come here. But anyway, no, just before we do wrap up, to touch on Wicklow. They sat fifth at the end of last year's AIL. They obviously went out in round one, got a strong win over Cooke, and then they faced Galwegians in round two, which they probably would have been disappointed coming away from that, but a team that's going to have another, I suppose, high finish place in their sights.
It's so funny. There's so many, you know, there's so many teams now that like probably believe that they can, you know, get to a final.
Yeah.
You know, and why not? Especially after, you know, if you're finishing fifth, you're going to be looking to go better than that this year, and you're eyeing up your different fixtures. So they probably will be disappointed, like with, hang on, sorry, you just mentioned it.
Yes, they played Cooke last week and beat them well, and then they lost to Galwegians.
So they've gone after this like super start, and then, you know, you're going into a loss. And obviously, this is how a league works, and you have to navigate this, and wins and losses, and surprises and disappointments, and then moments to really cheer. But it's, you know, with only 2 rounds in, there's so much left to navigate. It's about how you're reviewing it, how you're getting back to training, and what are you figuring out that can actually get you over the gain line a little bit more, and actually get you on the score sheet, and actually kind of strengthen your defence. Like, are the right questions being asked and answered in your training throughout the week? Yeah, it's one they'll obviously be looking to. One thing about Wicklow is like their pack. We would have always, but before they were actually in the AIL, we would have always went down and had scrum sessions against them with Philip Doyle. And sure, the two of us have been tearing into each other. So like, it's class for them to be finishing fifth last season. I know they'll be looking to it again. Cooke obviously got a win, which is, oh no, they didn't. Didn't they not? No,
they didn't.
Yeah, they did. Sorry, they didn't get Tolo. Yeah.
So Cooke obviously came away with a win last weekend, or 2 weekends ago now, which is fantastic for them as well. Obviously, they're a team that's had a little bit of, I suppose it's been difficult for them over the past couple of seasons, but they're ploughing on now, and they got a win over Tullow.
Yeah.
So very important for that, I suppose, Ulster contingent to be staying strong, and
definitely. And they're such a stalwart of the AIL.
Yeah, they are.
And it's always such a difficult place to
Bridge.
Go, and they're so proud, and
the journey up there.
Do you know what? I haven't been there in ages. Do they still have the best post-match meal in the AIL?
Yes. It's always like chips and lasagna or something.
Oh my god, it's unbelievable.
Or chicken curry.
Yeah, okay,
It is
so
banging.
Cooke, keep that
So
up
winning
now.
on that, yeah. No, but just a team that like it's very exciting to see. They have some very exciting players, and I think Maeve Marley's in there. Obviously, she's back from another injury, but she is such a threat, like, and very exciting. Before we do move on to kind of looking at round 3, I think it's important to highlight the Junior Cup. So the Junior Cup is, I think they're maybe in their third year of the competition, but it's the Energia AIL Junior Cup, and there's 2 teams from each province that take part in this. Last year, Barnhull took the cup, and then they went into that promotion game where Ennis obviously beat them to get into the AIL, but they would have had their quarterfinals just gone on the weekend, and Barnhull are favourites. Enniskillen came out on top of Balbriggan, and then I know that I think Tomb and Queens came out on top as well. So they'll obviously go into their semi-final and their final as well, but I think that just for an All-Ireland league to be hosting like teams from all over the country is so important. And I know you're obviously from Mallow. Would Mallow have been your first rugby club?
Yep.
Like your team, smaller teams getting a chance to play in that league is class. And then hopefully with that, the hope that you'd look forward to going up to the AIL
definitely
eventually.
And not only in terms of like the young players coming through, but the senior players there that have like wanted to kind of have this ambition for so long to like be so close to getting into an AIL. But then the coaches as well, like to bring on the coaches and to demand, you know, so much of those coaches and like have really high ambitions, and like all those teams should be like, you know, gunning, like literally have their sights set on the AIL, and after that, you know, anything's possible. So it's amazing. So good on you for bringing that up as well. It's really important to talk about that.
It's cool too because it allows smaller clubs to be the first in their club or trailblaze. I know Balbriggan, this is their first ever rugby team in an All-Ireland competition. And I think the clubs, I work now with one of the girls, but it's 100 years old. Have to give Lou McCleary a shout out, but like for their women's team to be the first in an All-Ireland competition, there's something like as the women's squad, you just be very proud of yourself.
100%.
And it's class. And there's some talent as well coming up through it, like India Daly up in Enniskillen, New Alma in Balbriggan. Like it's really, really class. So Ennis have had pretty much the dreamy start to the Energia AIL season, and we had the chance to catch up with Aoibhinn Hassey to hear a little bit about her journey and the squad's first year in the AIL.
Rachel, you've had an incredible story of resilience, coming back from multiple ACL injuries and leading Wicklow at an AIL level. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I suppose we'll just get down to the basics. Can you tell us how you first discovered rugby and what drew you to the sport?
So I would have always gone to all the Leinster games with my dad. He had season tickets for years, and I was at a birthday party when I was about 9 or 10, and one of the guys' dads heard me talk about rugby the whole time and asked would I ever give the sport a go. And there was no girls teams, but I'm sure the boys would be more than happy to take me in. And I came home to my dad that day and said I wanted to go to rugby training, and that was 18 years ago. And he brought me up with a big smile, never forced me into it, but once I was in, that was it.
I suppose that probably taught you a lot from a young age, like getting thrown in with those under 16, under 18 year olds.
Absolutely. I think probably a bit of my leadership comes from that. I learned from a young age, you know, and had to perform at a bit of an older level.
I suppose obviously you've had multiple ACL injuries, as we mentioned, unfortunately, but I mean, you have come back from every single one with such fire in your belly. Can you tell us what your journey through injury and recovery has taught you about yourself?
It's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know, an ACL, any injury isn't easy, but I think when you're staring in the barrel of an ACL, you know, you're looking at minimum 9 months. And I think having been through it before, each one got a bit tougher. I think I was a bit naive going into the first one, and also a little bit younger, so recovery came a bit faster and easier to me. When I did the second one, then it was a bit tougher to get myself motivated to get through the rehab, knowing kind of the journey that I was on. And by the time the third one came around, that was the one I struggled with most, because you do kind of go, God, it's just a third one, it's going down that same path again, months of, you know, pain and rehab and trying to get yourself fit and back on the pitch.
How did you balance rehab, playing, and everyday life, I suppose?
I think just sticking to a good plan, but also giving myself grace on those weeks, or, you know, at some points it was a month or two where I just couldn't get motivated to get up and do it. And allowing myself to feel what I needed to feel, and then when that motivation came back around, and it, you know, being consistent with it even when I didn't want to do it, and just scaling back as much as I could at that time. Yeah, the closer you get to return to play, the more that fire ignites and the harder you push on.
You kept yourself so motivated and you let yourself feel anything you wanted to feel. Like, what were the people around you like your team? Did they support you through it?
My sisters were a great motivation because they wanted me back on the pitch. But I think, you know, from a team point of view, the coaches were great. They kept me involved and got me involved in a coaching level, you know, coming up and taking a couple of drills at training, which just kept me around the girls, which kept me in the mindset of, you know, wanting to get back.
I suppose, like, mentally and physically, it's really tough, like, coming back from injury. What did you find the toughest part to be? Was it the mental aspect? Was it the physical aspect? What specifically was it that was like, this is the toughest part of this, but I'm still going to burst through it?
I think definitely by the last one, it was more the mental. The first time or two, it was the physical, just the pain and kind of the weakness that you feel after it. But by the third one, just being that bit older and kind of it taking that bit longer to recover and missing out on things because of the injury. You know, I was due to fly to Australia to visit my sister before the third one. So those kind of knocks definitely got me, and, you know, mentally more than physically. This time I think I knew what to expect.
You're taking away a part of your identity for a chunk of the year, you know, so it's about like grounding yourself and refining yourself and everything. So definitely it is important to talk about that side of things. And now you're bounced back, and how are you feeling?
Good, better than ever. I think definitely the first tackle or two after you're told you can return to play, so it's nerve-wracking. Your confidence is on the floor. And again, that's where you need to lean on your teammates and your coaches and your S&C. But I truly believe once you put in a good hit and you get a good hit and you stand up and there's no pain, you almost forget it's ever happened. Well, I do personally. You know, you just get on with it. And yeah, it feels great to be back. It's a thing of the past, and you can really start to focus on how to make yourself that much better now for the upcoming season, which is what I've been trying to do now in our own pre-season.
For sure, that's really good, and that's such a nice outlook to have on it as well. Like, and it's probably so reassuring for people to hear that when they do go back from injuries like this, that it is a thing of the past, that you can just move forward. It doesn't have to be your whole being anymore.
Yeah, and also don't rush it though. You know, you do need to give yourself time to get that confidence back. It's different for everyone, but I do think, you can kind of park it once you feel physically fine and mentally you've caught up. I think it's a great thing to just park it and play on. These things happen. It is a contact sport. Unfortunately, some people are.
What does it mean to share a pitch with your sisters?
Oh, it's magical. It is a lovely experience. You know, we're a very close bunch. We've grown up with rugby in the house since day dot. So for all of us to not only get involved but stay involved for so many years has been special. And, you know, as I said, there was never pressure from anyone at home to join. My dad was blessed with 3 girls, so I think at the start he thought rugby maybe wasn't on the cards, and got a lovely surprise that all 3 of us play and have gone on to play at, you know, AIL level. I've seen them go through the ranks behind me and to be up at the same level, and there's a few years separating a few of us, but it's fabulous to be able to play at that level and have those memories. You know, when our bodies do tell us we're done with rugby, we'll be able to sit back and enjoy that time together. It's
such a special thing to have together, because like if you were just in it on your own, do you feel like you'd see your sisters as much as you do now?
Definitely not. No, you know, I don't live at home anymore, so it's a great way to have, you know, even 3 days a week where we see each other and kind of catch up and, you know, just talk about whatever and talk about rugby and do that bit of fitness and that bit of fun, and something that we love doing together. And it keeps us all motivated and coming back from different parts of life, and, you know, supporting each other through that and using rugby as an escape as well as health and fitness and things like that.
You've been through the ranks from underage to now. You have a lot of experience under your belt. What are some of the biggest changes that you've seen in the AIL since you first started?
I'd definitely say the standard. You know, when we started, there was definitely a huge gap between the teams that have been there for a couple of years and well established, and the newer teams like ourselves. I think we got a massive shock the first year we moved up. You know, we'd done quite well in Division 1, and we thought, okay, let's have a crack at this. And it was a huge step up and a big learning curve. But I think thankfully we've managed that well, and each year we've learned something and grown. But I would say now, you know, that gap is just getting less and less between all the teams, which is super, because it just means the competition and the standard is constantly being driven. And I think that's probably coming from, again, I was one of the few, and I'm sure, you know, a lot of players my age maybe didn't start as young as 10, whereas now a lot of the younger girls of the team are all kind of starting around that age. So they're coming to the team with a lot of years of experience, whereas maybe, you know, a few years ago we were having girls that had already played 4 or 5 years.
And I suppose it would have been girls like yourself and others who would have paved the way for them to be able to start younger. So That's props to yourself for getting yourself in there.
Yeah, sticking it out.
I suppose to specify that question more to women's rugby, what's your perspective on how women's club rugby is developing around Ireland?
I think just the growing numbers. You know, the more women we can get involved. Again, I'll go back to when I started playing, there was no girls team for my age. I had to play with the boys, or if I didn't play rugby, that they were your two options. Whereas now, you know, girls can start as young as 4 in Wicklow and can go to their little kinders and work all the way up from that up to AIL level. And I just think more clubs are growing at that rate, and just having more women involved in the game is only going to grow our standards within Ireland. And it can only go up, you know, and I think it's becoming a lot more normal and a lot more positive for girls to not only play sports but stay involved in sports, or come back to sports when they're ready. And I just think we're seeing that benefit now.
Is there anything that you would like to say to younger girls just starting out in rugby, knowing what you yourself know now?
Stick with it. You know, there's ups and downs like anything in life, and rugby is a physical game. It's hard. There's a lot of emotions that come with it. But I think if you really love it and you can stick with it, and don't be afraid to ask for help, don't be afraid to ask for guidance or extra skills or anything like that you feel like will make your time on the pitch more enjoyable, and just have fun. You know, at the end of the day, we only have a certain amount of years playing a contact sport, so enjoy every minute, enjoy every game, win, lose, draw, it doesn't really matter. You'll look back in years to come when you can't play and you'll really appreciate that time.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Rachel. It was lovely to have you.
So after the break, we will be looking ahead to this weekend's games and round 3 of the Women's Energia AIL.
Yeah, we'd probably go a bit mad down the country. The style of play would definitely be a little bit different. So Culchie clubs generally are very forward heavy, bit of brute force, more direct rugby. Townie clubs tend to go more expansive, exciting rugby. Conditions and pitch might play a part in that. So really it's much smaller local areas, everyone knows everybody.
I think rural is more family orientated as such, like it's people from the area, which I think more city based is like, you know, people from colleges, people, you know, it's a bigger place, so they have a bigger pick. Like even us in Tullow, we're small.
I imagine Townie maybe being more about the backs, kind of running around. I see kind of Culchies being stronger, up for a fight, kind of enjoying the breakdown, tackle, etc. I see Townie like astro pitches, Culchie grass, mucky, wet pitch on a wet day.
There is like a different attitude completely. But I think rural clubs probably are a little bit more close-knit than the city ones. And I think it's kind of harder to try and make sure that you are building like a good culture. Rural teams are probably more physical, I think. And city teams probably have a little bit more flair.
I think a lot more city-based rugby clubs, you have a lot more experienced players, like who've been there for a few years. Now with Ennis, because we're just such a new team into our first year in AIL, our team, like we're all pretty much the same age, like under like 21, 22. But now that we're in like the AIL, we're learning how to play like the better teams who are in cities. So
it might be a bit controversial, but yeah, some boggy pitches down the country, which can be hard to play on. I think, yeah, country clubs may be a bit more physical. They've got all those big, strong farmers, so yeah, they kind of play through their forwards a little bit more and beat you up a little bit when you play.
The city clubs have a far bigger pool of people to pull from, but I think on the flip side, then I know a lot of the more rural clubs feel a bit more. Maybe this is because I'm part of one, but more of a family. Everyone knows each other. They're all from the kind of same place. Most of us have all kind of grown up together. You know, there's always just that family feeling when you come to a smaller town club.
Looking ahead to week 3, I think let's kick off with Blackrock and Railway. Not that I'm biased, but it's really cool because it is the first ever Pride round of the Women's AIL, maybe of the AIL ever.
I think so.
I think it is, which is class.
Amazing.
For those of you that don't know, Railway and Blackrock are going to be playing in Railway this weekend along with Emerald Warriors. It's the first ever Pride round, so there's a day full of fun, music, surprises. So like if you're around, obviously get down, but it's also so important, diversity inclusion in the AIL, in women's rugby, like it's such an important element and aspect to it. But how class for something like that to be brought in. I think we've seen it in the AFL, we've seen it maybe in some sports not in Ireland, but it's class to have it.
Oh, so epic. And like just again, it's another one of those, it's where the women's game in rugby specifically champions like over the men, where it's just the diversity and inclusion just bursts out of the game in just the most wonderful way. And to bring it into the AIL, like whoever thought this first. I can probably think of the people who might have who thought of this idea, and like I just hope they have the best weekend ever. I've heard some things that are happening and I'm just like,
don't say nothing now.
Yes,
surprise.
Yes, all surprises. How amazing. So everyone should get down to it.
And I have to shout out the players, because there's good few players on our team and on the Railway side that are really driving it, which is class. And again, like it's very like that the women's rugby side, the players do kind of drive that stuff, and it's just lovely to see.
But the women's players in general, how they feel the kind of the responsibility to carry this is just so wonderful, and I'm so proud of all the girls who are, like you say, that are driving that. Like, well done.
Yeah, and just there's obviously a place in rugby for everyone. It's the best sport ever.
Yes,
it's like home. To move to the on-pitch side of things, obviously we'll be taking on Railway, which will be a battle. Oh my god! Every time you go to Railway to play Railway, it's an absolute cracker and very tough game.
Yeah.
But obviously they're going to be gunning for it this weekend as well.
Gunning. They really want to win.
Yes, of course. Geez, we'll look forward to it. I look forward to more when it's wrapped and we're done. But moving on then to Belvo and UL Bows, we see Fee Hayes taking on her old side for the first time. It's going to be an interesting one. Bows are obviously coming off the back of 2 wins, with Belvo coming off the back of 1. So again, they're going to be kind of gunning for it.
Yeah.
Obviously Belvo are heading down the road, which will be, I suppose, they have the journey in their legs and stuff like that. But Bows are going to be looking to put their mark on it.
Yeah, I think Bows felt really good after their performance against Railway last week. So they'll have looked to kind of go. They're not going to go back into their shells or anything just because it's Fee Hayes. They're going to up that even more, because that's there's a lot of pride there on the line for both sides. Yeah. So it's going to be a brilliant fixture, and like, I don't know, just may the best girls win.
Absolutely. And I think at the half-time mark for Railway, Bows really turned it around, so I'm sure they're going to look to kick into it in the first half.
Yes.
And I've no doubt we'll see plenty more tries from Anna Caplice.
Yeah.
Hat-trick hero last week.
Yeah.
And then just to spotlight Tullow and Galwegians. So Galwegians are coming in. They are looking for their 3rd win. Tullow were coming off the back of a loss last week, but they'll again be really gunning for it.
Yeah.
But just for Galwegians to go 3 from 3 at this stage in the competition, they're sitting top now.
Will be brilliant.
Nothing in there, nothing stopping them.
Yeah, absolutely. But like we said, it's not. They'll look to, same with same with Bows. They're going to look to like keep all the things that worked well, and then like figuring out like if you can go like get a few scores on the board, like what else can you build for the rest of the rounds coming up, and not just be happy to take a win. Okay, we've got enough here now. What else? Like, can you get more run on from younger players? Can you like find more combinations? I have to remark actually, while I just have this chance now, something that I thought of. Someone asked me what was my highlight of the Bows Railway game last week, and there were so many brilliant moments from both sides. Really, really great. One of the line-outs from Bows towards the end of the game, after they'd made all their changes, and Maeve Óg, sometimes, a lot of the time when there's changes, especially in the line-out, and there's younger players, it's so easy for the line-out to fall apart, or for there to be just small errors.
Go back to basics and stuff.
Back to basics.
New combinations, that kind of stuff.
There was all these like young girls on the pitch. New hooker, and they just like bang, nailed the line out, and then constructed the most beautiful, perfect maul, and like just drove like straight off the pitch. I was so impressed, and it's again, and we've spoke about it so many times this evening now about like the quality of players coming through, and like just a little moment like that is just testament to it, that all of the coaches in our game are doing, that all of the commitment to like the young girls coming through, like how women's rugby is just growing and growing. Just a little moment like that in the dying moments of a game that's already won, to pull off a perfect line out, a perfect maul,
so good.
And that was like one of the highlights for me. So like I would just want to see more and more of that as the AIL continues. Yeah,
and I think to build on that, it's so competitive getting on a team sheet in the AIL. Like it's like this season especially, we're definitely finding that, and it's brilliant because I know the top 4 teams from last year, they're also fielding second teams on the days of their matches, and they're having seconds games, which is unbelievable. But the appetite and the competitiveness it creates in the team environments in the clubs is class. So great shout out to point out. Finally then, Ennis are going to be travelling to Wicklow to go for 3 for 3, and then you are going to see Cooke taking on Ballincollig down in Cork, where that'll be a great battle as well. So make sure you keep an eye on Instagram, across Instagram and online just across the weekend. And yeah, for round 3 of the Women's AIL.
Can I ask, as players, is there anything in a 5 o'clock game that feels a bit more, that adds a bit more flavour to the game, or does it really make much of a difference?
Fucking wrecked by the time it comes around anyway.
You mean kick-off at 5?
Yeah, kick-off times.
Have you gone through 5 p.m. AIL kick-off times?
5 p.m?
Like it's been standard now for the last 4 years.
I'm old.
Yeah.
So
you're going to bed at 5 p.m.
You're
getting into the lab at 5 p.m.
Oh, what I wanted to go say with that was that no, what I wanted to say was that we used to play on Sundays.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll take the Saturday 5 p.m.
By the time I was playing in England, by the time it had moved to the Sundays. Now I came back and played AIL, but I actually can't remember. I don't know about a 5 o'clock.
Well, see, what I will say is that all the men's AIL fixtures are 2:30. So when there is streaming or that opportunity is available for the women's, it's nice that you can view both. Or like my brother is playing in the men's AIL, so if we've both have a game in Dublin, mum and dad can go to the 2:30 and they'll be over to the 5. So from that, it's like, the Six Nations splitting apart. I suppose that there's a positive there where you have an equal chance to attend both fixtures, and obviously then for your match of the week that Irish Rugby TV do or whatever,
that's great.
It's good. But I will say the 5 p.m. kickoff, you'd be living a full day. Like I got my eyebrows done last week before the match.
Oh my God.
But you know, I would never do an activity like that before.
Yeah, that's such a strange...
But I just got up, got a coffee, got my eyebrows done.
It's a strange mindset.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I have to carpe diem before I carpe diem.
Well, no, because if you're in the zone all day, then you're going to be wrecked.
Exactly, you have to be...
You need... Eyebrows is a good activity.
Yeah, I know, I thought so too.
Yeah, because you're not exerting too much energy then either.
But I'll never forget, 2 years ago, we had Tatum Bird, a girl over from Sydney, playing with us in Blackrock, and she, 5 p.m. now, I am bed rest for the day. Right? I'm like, I'm not moving, I'm not burning energy, I'm saving energy. Tatum used to go up, she's like, yeah guys, I just got up at 5 a.m. and went for a swim this morning. I was like, a swim? Like, what are you doing burning energy? You know, I couldn't get over it. But that Aussie mindset is so funny. Like, she'd get up and live a day before a match.
And she'd go for a swim, like, up the 40 foot?
Cycle down to the 40 foot. We lived in Blackrock.
She'd cycle down.
Cycle down. I said cycling as well, but she'd cycle to the 40 foot, get a coffee, croissant, whatever she was doing.
That'd be a bit me now. I was doing that in La Rochelle, to be honest.
The distraction's good.
Yeah. And like, as long as you're not... See, the 40 foot's hard because you have to kick a lot. Yeah. Whereas I just go in and I'd stand.
Yeah, C point standing for that.
Well, in La Rochelle, you could just walk in.
La Rochelle.
Yeah. So
that is good. But yeah, the 5 p.m. kickoff's controversial one. I think
I would need a nap beforehand.
Yeah, see that's the
eating
thing.
Is difficult as well. You've got to be really on it with your not eating too much, but eating enough like throughout the day.
Yeah, it does for the long journeys. It helps. But otherwise, yeah, it can be a mare. You're getting ready to go out the door at like 2:30, and you've the dinner done. Anyway.
We won't complain.
We won't go on.
Yeah.
So that is it for the first episode of the Her Sport Energia AIL show. Anna, thank you so much for coming in with us.
Thanks for having me.
It's been brilliant to have you and just to have such great knowledge and insight and such intel on the World Cup. So thank you very much. And guys, if you've any questions or thoughts, please leave them below and we'll try to incorporate them into our next episode.